box is ready. Um, let's work on the mini album to put inside the box. So for creating the cover, you will need 3 pieces of chipboard, 2 of which are 4.5 by 6, and one more is 4.5 by 1 3/4. And to wrap the cover, you will need three. Today will be using 3 pieces of cardstock, and not one whole piece of cardstock as I usually do. So this central piece will be for the spine, and it is 3.5 by 5.5, and 2 more of a black color are 6 inches by 5.5. So as you can see, this will be the front, the visible part of the spine. So I applied the 1 1/4 inch score tape to the edges of this designer paper piece, and now I will be removing the backing from the score tape and attaching the black cardstock paper to the designer paper. In order to do that, I'm using my mat, cutting mat, as a guide. I can see where exactly the score tape finishes, and I will use this line as a guide for applying the black cardstock. The same thing here. Well, one more thing that I actually forgot to do, but it will be on the back, so it's not a big deal. But I want to distress this designer paper piece. Do that before attaching the black cardstock. If you are making it in the same way like I do. And here, well, let's see if I can do it like this. Well, I think I can. It's better than nothing. The effect is just a little bit different here and here, but I think it's better than not to distress at all. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. I'm removing the backing, and once again I'm using this line on my cutting mat to align the paper so that I know that this is the area where the score tape ends. Okay, like this. This is what I have now. Okay, now I will create one more guideline, 1/2 inch away from the bottom of this connected paper piece, and about 3/8 of an inch from the left side of this piece. Now I will use my Easy Runner Grand from Scrapbook Adhesives in order to glue down the covers. And I'm using that guideline at the bottom in order to align straight and to layer straight the chipboard piece on the paper. Okay, I will use this piece that I have for the cover in order to get the needed spacing between the chipboard pieces. And now when I have it here, I can eyeball the spacing for gluing down the second cover. like that. Now let's burnish from this side and from the front side. Okay. The next step is to trim the corners before we wrap the cover. And I'm just eyeballing it. I leave about 1/16 of an inch from the corner to the cut line. And now here I prefer, just because it's more convenient for me to work that way, to use score tape, and I will apply the score tape around all of the 4 sides of the cover. Now we are ready to wrap it, and I start from the long sides first, from the center, working towards the sides. Now let's gently find the folds here on the spine. Okay, so this is the base of our album. It's ready. Now let's get to the spine, to the binding. It will be the hidden hinge binding, and this is how the binding piece looks before I assembled it. Let me give you the measurements. This piece is 8 1/4 by 4 1/8, and it is scored as follows: at 1 1/4, 1 5/8, 2 inches, 2 1/4, 2 5/8, 3 inches, 3 1/4, 3 5/8, 4 inches, 4 1/4, 4 5/8, 5 inches, 5 1/4, 5 5/8, 6 inches, 6 1/4, 6 5/8, and 7 inches. That means that we have 1 1/4 of an inch from both sides of our binding piece, and the gassets for the pages are 3/8 of an inch, while the gasset, I mean the spacing between the pages, is 1/4 of an inch. So as you can see, I've already applied the score tape. From the front side of the binding piece, you apply the score tape to the areas which will fold in the future, like this, and the page will sit on top. So you definitely need the score tape to be from both sides of that hinge in order to hold the pocket page that you will attach on top. Then comes the gasset, so you don't need any score tape there. So you continue that way. If you have 6 pages, so you will have 6 areas with the score tape on the front side of the binding. Now the back side looks like this. You will apply the score tape to, if this will be the gasset which will hold the page, as you can see, and I have score tape from both sides. So in order to keep that together from the back side, I applied score tape only on 1/2 of the hinge, of the future hinge. Then will come the gasset, and of course it needs to have the score tape on it, because we will be attaching the hidden hinge binding to the cover of the album, and these are the exact areas where we need the score tape to be. So this is how you continue. You apply from the back side of the hinge piece, you apply the score tape to 1/2 of the fold which will form the hinge, and you apply the score tape to the area which is the gasset. Okay, so this is what you do, and of course you apply a generous amount of score tape to the flaps, which will attach the whole hidden hinge binding to the cover of the album. So now let me quickly assemble this. I will take away the scoreboard. Some people like to pre-fold this binding piece before they assemble it. I don't do that. I just think that if you use the scoreboard, the folding works pretty nice without the pre-folding stage. And I just reinforce the fold lines while I keep on folding the hinge piece. Okay, and the final page, remove the backing and burnish on the hinge. Okay, so this is the hinge binding ready to use, and we will now connect it to the cover. Okay, let me see where it needs to be. Okay, we will have about 1/4 of an inch from each side of the left and right hinge. All right, so first I need to see the folds. Now I usually remove the backing first from the central area of the binding. What's wrong here? Let me add some glue here because I tore the score tape off. Okay, now I will stand. I think I will just make the marks with the pencil in the areas where the folds are, because I can hardly see them. And now I can. Okay, so now I can press and burnish, at least in the middle, because the backing of the score tape is already off in that area. Apply decent pressure in order to make sure that everything is stuck really well. Now you can remove the backing from the flaps. And glue them down as well. And now let's find again those folds. This is our cover. Now we will have 6 pages, and I decided that, well, first of all, I want to say that assignment for this month that we've got from the Graphic 45 was to create a pop-up mini album. So in my mini album there will be 6 pages, and there will be 3 designs of pop-up mechanisms So each design will have 2 pages. I already made 3 pages, and I will show you now which designs we are going to have in our album. So this is the first, and if you are also a card maker, you know that there was time when the pop-up box card was very popular. So this mechanism is based on that pop-up box card thing, and well, this is how the page looks like. This is the other side of it. Then this page has an automatic pull tab. This is how it's called, and the element, this element of the page is raised above the surface when you open up the page. Okay, so this is how it looks like. And the third one is the twist pop-up mechanism, which looks like this. Okay, so these are the 3 pop-up designs that I will have in my album, and let me show you how to create them. So for the first one, we will make the automatic pull tab, this one. Okay, so for the base of the page, you will need a piece of cardstock measuring 8 3/4 by 5 3/4, and you will score that piece at 4 1/4 and 8 1/2 inches. Then on that tab, which will be left, you will apply score tape, and you will assemble the page, the pocket page, like that. Now let's have the page as an example of what we are doing. We will put it here. Since the page will close to the inside of the album, I don't want the paper to fold and curve too much here in the area which will be closer to the place where the page is attached to the spine. So this panel, which could be 5 3/4 of an inch in width, will be a little bit shorter, and it will be actually 1/4 of an inch shorter. Here it's only 1 1/8 of an inch shorter, so don't mind that. This is the better option. So for the panel, you will cut the piece of black cardstock measuring 5 7/8 of an inch by 4 1/4. You will score it at 5 1/2 inches, and you will apply the score tape to the flap. Now we can already attach this piece to the base page, and I'm attaching it to the to the right side of it. Okay, like this. So now, as you can see, I've already applied a piece of designer paper just to save some time. So this piece is, if you also want just a little border around the designer paper piece, like I do, you will cut the designer paper to the size of 4 1/8 to 5 3/8 of an inch. And you will need to make the cuts on this piece. The cuts are 1 7/8 of an inch long, and they are at 1 inch and 2.5 inches away from the fold line of this flap. Alright, so in order to create them, you will first mark on top of this panel. You will mark at 1 inch and 2.5 inches, and I made the marks on the designer paper, but you can also make them on the black cardstock, and then just to erase them away using the regular eraser. Okay, and you will mark at the same places at the bottom of the page. Then you will align the ruler at these 2 points, and you will make additional marks which are 1.25 inch away from the well, currently the left side and the right side of the page, 1.25 inch away. So this is the same thing that you will do here, and in those areas you will cut the you will make the cuts. Okay, so this is how the cuts look like, and that's for us to be able to slide in the pop-up panel. How to create a panel. This piece of paper is 8 inches by 3 inches, and you will need, of course, to make some scorings on it, and the scorings will be at 1/2 inch, 1 1/8, 2 5/8, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, and the last one will be at 7 1/2. Now you will cut off some of this future panel, and you will cut off from the mark, which is at 3 3/4 of an inch, till the edge of the cardstock piece. It means still 8 inches, and you will do the same at the bottom. And these are, let me tell you, 5/8 of an inch in height. Okay, so from the top of the piece and from the bottom of the paper piece, you will measure 5/8 of an inch, and then you will cut them off. I will try to post a picture, or you know what, let me do this together with you now using just plain printing paper. Okay, so this piece is 3 by 8 inches, and now let's score. At 1/2 inch, at 1 1/8, at 2 1/2, no, sorry, 2 5/8, 2 5/8, then 3 1/4, then 3 3/4, and one more at 7 1/2. Okay, so this is the piece. So what you will need to cut off, you will measure 5/8 of an inches from this side, and from this side, and here as well. Now you will align the ruler according to those marks, but you will make the line, you will draw a line only from the bottom up to this score line, which was at 3 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and the same thing here. So these are the areas which need to be cut off. And like this. Now just as a final touch, I like to trim the corners, just to make it look prettier. Okay, so this is what you have now. This is the exact same piece like I've already prepared. Now you need just to make sure that this piece gets easily inside the slits that you've created. Okay, like that. So now what we do is the following. We apply the score tape to this flap here. Try to stay close to the fold line and not to the edge which is away from the fold line. Okay, and now when you have it, you will remove the backing and you will attach this piece very, very close to the second cut, to the second slit that you created, and burnish. Okay, now let's take the band of that panel and slide it inside the first slot and then inside the second slot. This is the back of the panel that we are creating, and this is the front side. So if you did everything right, you will have that tiny flap almost reaching the fold line of these two, and this piece will lie flat. So now just to make sure that everything will fold nicely, we will trim just a little bit of this panel, and I mean about 1/16 of an inch. Okay, and now we will apply score tape to the front part of this piece. But before gluing it down to the main page, you need to cover this area with the designer paper. So this piece is 5 5/8 of an inch by 4 1/8. Now when this piece is glued down, you can now remove the backing. Make sure that all this element is flat, and to close the page and to burnish. Now that works fine. Now we need to add some strength to this piece, and in order to do that, you will need another piece of designer paper. This one is 1 3/4 by 1 5/8 of an inch. I will glue it down to that pull tab, and once I apply the glue, I will slide it behind that slot, and I will straighten and align everything and burnish. Okay, so this is how it works. Now here on top of this piece, I want to attach this ATC card, and I want to back it up with a piece of paper. This one is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, And I want to be able to take out the ATC card once I have the real pictures to put inside my album. In order to hold the ATC card on the backing paper, I will use the photo corners, and these are from the scrapbook adhesives. They're self-adhesive, and it's a mix of photo corners. As you can see, there are several colors here: the gold, the black. Use now the white color, and I will use actually only 2 of the corners because I don't need more. I will attach them first like this to the ATC card diagonally. Now I will glue the ATC card together with the photo corners to the backing cardstock piece. I will burnish. Okay. Now, once I will have a real picture to put in, I will remove the ATC card and I will just tuck the photo behind the photo corners. So now we want to attach this to the pop-up panel. So what we will do is this. I will apply, I will apply the wet glue only to this area, to this section, which is raised. Okay, now while the page is open, I will just want to make sure that everything is centered like that. Now I will close the page and burnish really good in order to make sure that everything is stuck down good like that. Okay, now just for some extra security, let's burnish once again. Okay, when you cover this part of the page with the designer paper, first of all, the size of the designer paper will be 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So let me choose the paper. This is the paper. So when you glue it down to the page, make sure that you don't apply any glue to this band of our pop-up panel. So what I do in this case, I apply the glue in the area which is about 1/2 inch away from all the 4 sides, except for that area with the band. And then I apply the glue close to the edges of the designer paper piece. Like this. Now we can glue this down, leaving a small border from all the sides, and burnish. Okay, so one page is ready. This is how it works. We also need to add the designer paper to this side, so I will do it later. So here are our 2 pages with the automatic pull tab. This is one and this is the second one. And I think I will add more photo corners here for the picture, which will be 5 inches by 3.5. So here I have a template of this size of the picture, and once again I will use only 2 photo corners and I will add them diagonally I will put them on my photo template, and then I will attach them with the template to the page, like so. Now I can remove the template, and this is the ready place for the future picture to go in. Now you can, as you can see here, I've added the cutouts of the flowers, so you can just glue them down behind this raised panel. But just make sure that when you close the page, they don't extend to the borders of the flap itself. So here, for example, I will, if I really choose to add the cutout flowers, I will add them here on top and at the bottom, and not from the left and right side as I did here. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Let's put these two pages aside and move on to the next mechanism, and we will work now on this mechanism, the twisted pop-up. So in order to do that, once again you will need the base for your page, which is as I already mentioned previously, for 5 3/4 of an inch by 8 3/4, scored at 4 1/4 and 8 1/2 inches, with the score tape applied to that tiny tab. Now we can close the page down and create a pocket page. I'm sorry. Now this part here also needs to be trimmed a little bit. Let me do that now. I will trim 1/4 of an inch, and this way we get the panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 7/8 of an inch, scored at 5 1/2 inches. And I can already glue it down to the base page. Just to the edge of it. Alright, now we will need to create this this pop-up panel, let's call it. And for creating the pop-up panel, I will link the tutorial which I used for creating this mechanism. The only thing which I did differently was I even used most of the measurements, so it will be easy for you to do the same. The only thing which I did differently, and that's why this panel doesn't lie flat, is the fact that my squares, let's say there are 4 squares here, so my squares are larger than in the tutorial that I used for creating this. So mine are 3 by 3 inches, and I truly think that that's okay that they don't lie flat. It doesn't bother me, but I prefer this space to be bigger and larger in order to be able to add some paper cutouts to the panels. So for creating the pop-up panel, you will need a piece of cardstock which measures 10 3/4 of an inch by let me tell you 8 1/2, and you will use the same measurements as the lady on YouTube will give you. Okay, so once this panel will be ready, you will start to glue it down. I prefer to use the liquid glue here in order to be able to align everything properly. So I start from the center and then make sure that the sides are aligned in the way that leaves about 1/8 of an inch from all the 3 sides. Now I burnish it really good, like that. Now let's see what we have here. Okay, I can add the glue. Now holding this closed together, I'm covering that flap with the base page, and once again make sure that I burnish really good to create a good stick between the papers. Now as you can see on the base page, our pop-up panel doesn't reach the edge of the page, and what I did was I cut out the decorative strip of paper and just added it there. I think it even added, it made the whole page even more beautiful than just leaving it like that. Now this is the panel for the twisted pop-up mechanism itself. And what we do now is this: we put this piece on our page on the flap like this. We fold it. This reminds the letter M. Okay, so this is how you put it on the card. Sorry, on the page of the mini album. And now you apply a little bit of glue in this area. And you close the page and you burnish. Okay, now you open it and you apply a little bit of glue now to the top sleeve of that t-shirt here. And now when you close the page back like that, you make sure now that that sleeve is at the bottom. And you burnish once again. Now when you are done, this is what you have. Very nice, right? This is a really interesting mechanism. I really liked it. This twisted pop-up. Okay, so now let's embellish the panels. So I have some cutouts here that I want to use. Okay, now on the sides, just as I did here, I will add the ATC cards, and once again I will use the photo corners in order to attach them to the page. So this is our second pop-up mechanism. You will need to measure the panel here and here and apply more of the designer paper according to your liking. Finally, for creating the third pop-up page design, and I'm talking about this one, you will need the following: the same base for our page, and this is 8 3/4 by 5 3/4 of an inch, scored at 4 1/4 and 8 1/2 on the long side. You'll also need that additional flap, which is 5 7/8 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. So let's assemble the pocket page first. We'll remove the backing from that tab, close the page to get that sleeve. Now I will attach my page, my flap to the base page. Like this. And if I wanted to open this way, I will have the flap on my left. If I will want, let's say, to open this way page, so I will keep the page with the flap unfolding to the right side. Anyway, I will make it the same way as I created this page. So the flap that you have, the top flap, once it's already attached, you will fold it in half like this, and you will need to embellish already these two flaps. So I will use these papers. So just measure each section and cut the paper to the size. If you want a little border, you will cut the pages to 2 1/2 by 4 inches. Okay, so let me do that quickly. Okay, and you will also embellish the the panel here. Now when this is done, you will need 3 pieces of black cardstock, and you will embellish the inside of them with the designer paper of your choice, but the base will be 1 1/2 of an inch by 3 7/8, and you will take this piece, you will score it at 1/2 inch and at 3 3/8 of an inch. Once done, you will fold this piece in a Z shape, and you will do the same to all the 3 of these pieces. Okay, now let's start to attach them. Let's say I will attach them not like here, for example, not at the very bottom of the page, but a little bit higher, about, I don't know, a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch, as you can see here. Okay, so I will take the first piece and I will eyeball where exactly I want it to be. Not very close to the fold line and not very close to the edge. Let's say somewhere here. This is where we will begin to attach these tabs. So I will fold it like this right now, and I will take a pencil and I will mark the line where I need to create a cut in order to slide this tab in. I don't want them to be seen because it looks really ugly, those black tabs on top of the paper. And even if you would do that first, then you would have a real trouble cutting the paper to the size in order to cover the tabs anyway. So this is the first place where we need to make a cut, and I will do it right now using the precision knife. Okay, now let's see if the cut is enough to put the tab inside, and I think it is. So once the tab is inside, I will turn it to the back side, and here I will add the glue. I will unfold it, and once again making sure that everything is aligned. And I mean that the spacing here, if I hold the tab like this, that the spacing till the bottom of the page here and here is the same, about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so this one is glued down. Now we will take the next one and we will attach it. Let's see where exactly. This one is about I'm sorry, 1/2 inch away from this fold line. But once again, I'm just eyeballing it, and the only thing that I pay attention at right now is that 2 of these are aligned, and I'm not placing my flap like this, for example, like this or like this. Everything needs to be straight. Okay, so let's say I want it here. Once again, I draw a line, and I use the precision knife for cutting the slot. And I'm putting that tab inside the slot, like so, adding the glue from the back side. And keeping everything straight, gluing that down. Now we have one more, which is easier to put because I just need to eyeball where the center between the 2 of these is, and it is somewhere here. We don't need to be very precise, okay, but something in between. Okay, here. I draw the line and I cut the slot. Putting that in. Once again, adding the glue. Aligning everything together. Okay. This one is a little bit higher. Okay. Now it's fine. I can burnish. Alright, great. Now, the next thing to do is to glue down this panel. And we need to glue it down like that. First we will fold it. This piece, I didn't give you the measurements. Okay, this piece is 11¼ of an inch by 1½ scored at 5½, and the remaining piece you will fold in half and you will get the score line perfectly in the middle of this piece. Okay, but at average it's the scoring will be after 5½ at 8¾ of an inch. But I suggest that you fold it manually, like we folded this flap here. Okay, so you will embellish it with the designer paper. Now we need to glue it down here. We will glue down this piece first, but you need to pay attention that when you are putting this on top, just make sure that all the tabs here get under the band that we are currently holding. And when you are putting it on top of the page, once again pay attention that this band covers all the tabs which are inside, and you have a straight aligned border here. I mean that you are not placing it like this or very close to the bottom edge, but that you are aligning it according to the inside tabs that are already glued down. Okay, so I'm aligning it here on the right edge according to the edge of the designer paper and not the black base cardstock. This is one more thing that you need to pay attention at. Okay, so now I will just unfold it. I'm keeping all the elements together with my hand here, and I will apply glue about I will start to apply glue about 2 inches away from the right side of this cardstock piece. Now I will close it back, keeping everything together, and I will burnish. Okay, now we will flip it to this side, and I will apply glue to these 3 tabs. Once the glue is applied, you will make sure that all of them are unfolded, and you will close it with the cardstock piece which was on your left. So this is what we have so far. Okay, burnish, make sure that everything is glued down properly. Now what's left to do is only to apply the glue here to this section. And to close the page and to burnish. This is your pop-up page. Now to add, for adding the cutouts here to the tabs, I'm using some acetate, strips of plastic acetate strips, and these are cut to 1/2 inch by, I don't know, I didn't measure, but about 3.5 of an inch. Every time I will cut them to the size which I need to have. And let me show you an example. Let's say I have here some stamps that I glued down, and here on this page I will use the I don't know, the shape is called the bottle cap, but these are the coins. Well, I call them coins. They are from this set of cardstock die cuts. These are the banners. I use them from this set of banners from the Off to the Races collection. I already distressed the edges, so what I will do now is this. I will apply a little bit of adhesive to the strip. Then I will attach the banner to this one and to this one. I will burnish from the back side. And now I will just try on where exactly what's the height of the strip that I need to have. Okay, so it will be something like that. And now let's see. I need to cut a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch maybe, from this one and from this one. And now I will apply adhesive here. And I will glue it down to the tab like this, making sure that this element is not extending off the page. And I'm burnishing here on the back. The same thing with this one. And you can decide if you want them to be on the same level or maybe lower. Well, higher here I cannot do, because once again I need them to stay in the border, within the borders of the page. Okay. This is how it is. And this is how you continue to attach the remaining elements. Here it's less seen that something is missing in this corner, but here we have another paper, so maybe it's good to add another element to this area here, but this is also a minor thing to do. I will do it later. One more thing that you need to do is to cut the, first to measure and then to cut a piece of designer paper in order to cover all these tabs here from the back side. I will cut the paper to 4 inches by about 2.5. We don't need any more paper there. And you will also embellish this side of the page. Okay. Now I will glue the photo corners later, but this page is the last out of 6 that we need for our mini album. So we can attach the pages to the mini album, to the base of the album. And you can add the designer paper to the inside covers either now or later once the pages are attached, whatever you prefer, since the pages are the pocket pages, so you will need to find the opening and then to sit the page on top of the hinge, which is intended for it. And before you press and glue the page down, make sure that it is centered, because the hinge is a little bit smaller than the page itself. Now let's see. Okay, everything fits inside, which is one of the most important things. Okay, looks fine from the bottom, from the top, from the side. Now you will need to cut the mats to go inside the pockets, and you will embellish the album, the front cover, the back to your liking. One thing that I want to mention, the measurements that I gave you will not allow you to add the bulky flowers and bulky embellishments to the front cover, because then you will not be able to close the box. So pay attention to that, and if you do want to use the bulky embellishments here on the front cover, just add to the thickness of the box when you are creating it. What I mean is, instead of cutting these pieces to 1 inch in height, cut them, I don't know, to 2 inches or 1.5 inches. That's it. And this is the album. All the extra embellishments I will make offline, not in the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and if you create anything of the kind, please share. I would like to see your results, and thank you guys for watching. See you in the next videos. Bye bye.